Greetings, fellow YouTubeites. I am Backwater Jay. I'm a 5-star full-time Lyft driver with 4 figures of rides under my belt, and I'm here to explain why I've given Lyft the back seat. That is to say, why I've made the switch to Uber. Now, why would someone exclusive to Lyft for over a year choose to suddenly back the competition? Well, it would be an oversimplification to cite one reason, of course. At the time that I signed on, according to my research, Lyft was the better deal for drivers. Uh, but the fact is, Lyft services and features have constantly gone downhill while the company continues to take a higher and higher cut of the driver's income. Certainly, I've noticed the difference. Truth be told, the main reason I've stayed with Lyft is it seems to have a better reputation among drivers and riders. But then this is anecdotal evidence coming mostly from the Lyft community, so you do the math. But yes, there is a main reason that I've made the switch. Let me preface this by saying I'm a California driver, so this reason won't apply to the majority of the rideshare community yet. You see, we've recently passed a law effective January 1st known as AB 5, which I've covered in more detail in my ride-sharing PSA, link in the description below. Basically, this law sets right the misclassification of employees as contractors that has plagued the rideshare industry since its inception, or it would if both Uber and Lyft weren't blatantly and publicly defying it. Uber, however, has taken a much-needed step toward driver concessions Lyft has so far refused to. Namely, in the state of California, as of December 4th, it is providing the precise destination, trip time, and estimated compensation up front to the driver. Granted, this is a blatant dodge of AB 5, basically their way of saying, no, they're contractors, really! Will this stand in the long term against the weight of the law? Probably not. That's not the point. For those of us who are full-time subsistence drivers, we frankly can't afford to think about the politics of the decision. To us, it's a godsend and it's a game changer. Under the new Uber system, gone are the days of ride roulette, of never knowing how far from home you'll end the day and how many hours of traffic you'll have to fight to get back. Under this paradigm, if you get caught behind traffic, it's your own darn fault. And while the estimated earnings given up front are a vague range, it's still far better than Uber has done in the past or that Lyft is doing in the present. What Uber has given me personally, and many more like me, is a much needed tool to drive locally, without guesswork or finicky filter shenanigans or driving upstream to avoid getting caught in gridlock with no compensation, and without being that guy who shows up at a rider's doorstep only to cancel on them. I can simply stay local, and if a ride would take me in a direction I don't want to go, I can turn it down. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't look at this from the rider's perspective. I want to take the bull by the horns now and address what the media has flippantly dubbed destination discrimination. This is a loaded phrase, and it's obviously designed to cast a negative light on the drivers that practice these quote-unquote nefarious practices. While yes, it can be a real problem, keeping drivers in the dark only makes it worse, as it means that drivers are canceling after wasting their time and the riders driving to the pickup when they could have just turned down the ride from the get-go had they known. And slapping the discrimination tag on it is insult to injury. If you're supporting an industry that treats its employees as contractors, then guess what? Contractors pick and choose what jobs they take. That's not discrimination. That's survival as a contractor. If you don't like it, then don't give these companies your business. We drivers don't appreciate being demonized, and the lion's share of us don't turn down rides unless they'll screw up our entire day. The only real solution to the problem of unpopular destinations is to increase driver compensation to make these destinations more popular. Which, yes, riders, means you'll be paying more for such rides. But the adage holds true, you get what you pay for. And you'll still probably save a pretty penny over the cab companies. So, destination discrimination? Hardly. No, in an industry which has insisted, even in defiance of the law, on treating employees as contractors, the only discrimination that's happening is denying those contractors basic contractor rights, namely, to know the terms of the contract before they agree to it. Lyft still denies these rights to its drivers. Uber, well, in most areas it's the same. But in California, both with AB 5 and with Uber's decision to provide these details, important precedents are being set, which we can expect to spread to other jurisdictions. Now, politics aside, let's get to where the rubber meets the road, pun very intended. First of all, having this information up front and at a glance feels so empowering. It feels like I'm actually a contractor in control of my workday, and I'm able to make informed decisions as to when and where I'll drive. I'm not stressed out. I'm in a calm and positive headspace, and that makes me a safer driver and I'm sure a much better company on the road. I find that overall the compensation is comparable, and the app runs smoothly and is much less prone to the quirks and bugs that Lyft has been prone to in recent months, at least on an older OS like I'm using or in areas of low reception. There are a few things I do miss about the Lyft platform, such as the icon indicating the actual rider as opposed to the pickup point, and the ability to turn the app off in the middle of a ride. Though this is less of a problem with Uber, as they don't pile rides onto your queue without your consent, as Lyft is prone to. Another gross violation of the supposed contractor arrangement, by the way. All told, though, the benefits far outweigh the drawbacks. It's a solid platform and it allows me to truly drive where and when I want. So here's where the gauntlet's been thrown down, and Lyft, at least in California, is going to need to play some serious catch-up. The point of contention has always been wait times for riders. At the end of the day, the way to keep those wait times down is to have more drivers on the road, period. And the way to do that is to treat your drivers fairly and within reason give them what they want. As it stands in California, Uber is doing that and Lyft is not. What that means for all of us, drivers and riders, is that more California drivers will be making the switch as I have. Uber will end up with more and more manpower and Lyft will end up with less and less. It won't be long before riders catch on to this and they too start making a mass exodus to Uber. This isn't rocket science, it's basic economics. Frankly, I hope Lyft will get on board with driver transparency as Uber has, since it's in very real danger of being put out of business in California if it doesn't. And Uber needs some competition because that's how free market economy works. Unlike with our power companies, California rideshare riders and drivers can pick and choose who they support, which forces the companies to remain competitive, which ultimately is a win for everyone. So Lyft, this is what you've got to do if you want to get this 5-star full-time driver back. And I'm sure many others like me. You talk the talk of letting drivers drive where and when they want, now it's time to start walking the walk. And not in that annoying rider has a short walk kind of way. In the meantime, it's Uber for me. Thanks for watching. I'm Backwater Jay. I don't just do rideshare rants. I do music, I do geeky stuff, I do comedy. Like, subscribe, comment, dislike. It's a free country, except when it's not. Safe travels, and I'll see you next time.